boy, this is gonna be good, I can tell.
We're going to learn how they make the water look like water and how they make the fish actually have all the 3 dimensions instead of it just being flat and drawn.
Here we go. We're ready to learn to get some knowledge.
If you take a fish model and you stick it in a blue background, it's not going to look like it's underwater. It's going to look like it's floating in air.
Boy, I bet that's frustrating.
So one of the biggest problems we had to solve right off the bat was how do we make that look like it's underwater?
Excuse me, is there anything I can do? I am a scientist, sir.
We did a lot of research early on to try to find the different elements that, when paired correctly, would complete the illusion of being underwater.
We have some genuine scientists here with PhDs and all kinds of degrees, and they take these things on very analytically and break it down.
It came down to a list of about 5 things.
Rules, rules.
The first element is particulate matter.
Which is the schmutz that's in the ocean.
No matter how clear the water is, there's always stuff floating in there. And that gives the water depth.
Wait. I have definitely seen this floating speck before.
And in a lot of shots, we actually figured out a way so that if a fish swam quickly or did a quick little adjust, the particulate responds and gets kind of kicked out of the way.
Wow, dusty.
That particulate matter you put into the shot is just sitting there. It looks like a starfield flying in some Star Wars scene. That's got to move. Okay, so that serves us well.
Everything's moving constantly. The water's shifting and there are waves and underwater currents. And those currents affect not only the particulate, but any soft things like seagrass. So you get this amazing rich feeling of everything being alive and moving slightly.
Right then, who's next?
And the next element is caustic lighting, which is this ripply lighting that you see in a pool in the water, on the bottom of a pool that shows shimmery light.
That wonderful magical dance that it does.
You've got light coming down from the surface, but the light isn't coming through a crystal clear surface. It's coming through this surface which is always moving.
And the light shafts come down as beams that move and dance around the surface.
It's so pretty.
The next thing you need to create is murk, which is this sort of foggy underwater look.
Water tends to make things decay, so they look fuzzier more quickly.
Not only do they fall off into this kind of murk where the detail becomes more indistinct, but they actually lose color.
You tend to lose your red tones and warm tones first, and over distance, all that's left is blue.
Wow, the big blue. What's it like?
Big and blue.
I knew it.
And the last thing you need to create it all is reflection and refraction.
Now in the ocean, it's how the light reflects and refracts on the surface and right below the surface. In the fish tank, reflection and refraction are much more complex because of the 4 walls of the tank.
If you're in a fish tank and you're looking out, you're going to see a mirror reflection.
Hi, how are ya? Don't listen to anything my sister says. She's nuts.
When you fill 4 glass walls with water, as the light enters that, it bends.
An object that's really here in space might look like it's way over here.
Real cool stuff happens when you're either outside looking at the corner of a tank, because then you can see Nemo twice, once on each side, because light will bend both directions.
By paying attention to that detail and getting it just right, we've made a fish tank that looks absolutely real.
With all those elements together, you actually start to believe that you are in water. You are in substance between camera and character instead of a sort of painted, airy set.
The ocean looks like an ocean. It doesn't look like a cartoon ocean, like a painting of an ocean. It looks like the ocean.
It was beautiful. It looked like real water. It was buoyant and full of life.
It all changes and ripples across, and you just go, wow, that is just gorgeous.
It's awesome.
It was a bit of a brain tease, but we figured it out.
Alrighty, Mr. Smarty Pants.
It was important in Finding Nemo to make the characters believable. Believable as fish, with their fins and the swimming and the way that they look, but also believable as characters.
Fish are very complicated, and so part of what we're trying to do is figure out what goes into making a fish look like a fish.
Golly, that's amazing!
The art department and the looks department spent a lot of time staring at fish, and they realized that it really breaks down into 4 types of surfaces that you see on fish. There's iridescent fish, there's very velvety surfaced fish, and there's metallic fish.
Look, something shiny!
And then what we like to call sort of gummy fish. It's almost like light goes through a gummy bear.
Father is a gummy fish. He's a clownfish. So light enters him, transports around.
It's kind of like if you hold a flashlight up to your hand and you see a little bit of light coming through the skin. It's kind of red.
As opposed to Dory, who's a very velvety fish. Her fins glow with blue and yellow, so it makes it look like she's got some light coming from behind her.
How about you, mate? What's your problem?
In animating characters like this is really quite difficult because most of the time in animation you're always trying to give physics and ground your characters and have a sense of gravity and weight. You're trying not to make your characters float. But with fish, you have to make them float. So we had to kind of rethink and relearn our sense of physics in animation.
Curse you, aqua scum!
The animators had to do a lot of studying of watching how fish swam.
Just keep swimming, swimming, swimming.
We had to study all these different kind of fish so that every fish in our movie could have its own unique character in the way that it swam around. And it doesn't just feel like a simple computer-generated fish. Each fish feels very unique and has its own character.
I'm H2O intolerant.
When people think of fish, swimming fish, generically they think of this S-curve kind of thing. Father swims like this with his body. Also with his fins, he's what we call a rower.
Rowers swim as if you were treading water. They kind of push through the water.
Dory isn't. She uses her fins for most of her motion. She's what's called a flapper.
Their fins are more up and down, and they kind of take water in and then kind of push it behind them like this.
Dory. I love to swim.
The fish have to act to tell this story.
How do you animate something that's basically a tube with a face? We couldn't pull from this bag of tricks that were these bipedal characters. We couldn't do our traditional poses with a fish. Well, how do you make a fish swim sad? And what do they look like when they're happy?
Go on, tell us a joke!
When the character is really angry, we kind of like... When they're really happy, actually, we kind of like...
Something's wrong with you. Really.
Instead of taking the characters and having them act with their fins as arms or hands, gestures like that, we've tried to put more into the body and get the whole body feeling as one.
A shrug can be like this, but if you take away the shoulders, it's like... So you just kind of imagine your detached head, that's the fish.
Saw the whole thing, dude. First you were all like, whoa! And then we were all like, whoa! And then you were like, whoa!
This film really pushed the animators to another level, you know, and subtlety of eye movements and mouth shapes. This film really helped us get, you know, like raise the bar on facial animation.
It starts to feel real, and you start to buy and believe the performance.
Oh my gosh!
I never realized, you see, that fish could have expressions, could be in fact humanized. Somehow Pixar's artists and their wonderful creative team have realized this seemingly impossible task.
You just completely love and believe these characters.
You rock, dude!
Ow.
It's such a gorgeous, fascinating, unique world. Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's absolutely incredible, the attention to detail.
You'll actually leave the theater trying to wring out your clothes. You'll actually feel wet and smell almost salty. It's just your imagination, but that's how real the film is. You'll actually feel as if you are a fish and scaly.
Ooh, that's good.